Today we're going to take a look at Eriette of the Charmed Apple. This is one of the new commanders from the Wilds of Eldraine set. She costs black, white, and 1 generic to cast for a legendary creature that is a human warlock. And each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can't attack you or a planeswalker that you control. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. So this deck is going to be all about auras, putting them on our opponent's things so they can't hit us, and then we're going to slowly drain them of life and gain life ourselves. Let's take a look at what creatures we run in the deck. We want Hero of Iros for a white and a generic. Aura spells we cast cost 1 less to cast, and then it has Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Hero of Iros, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Killian Ink Duelist for a black and a white is here because it has lifelink and menace, and spells that we cast that target a creature cost 2 less to cast. Knight of the White Orchid is here to help us ramp a little bit. So when Knight of the White Orchid enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than us, we may search for a plains card, put on the battlefield, and shuffle. Core Spirit Dancer can get +2/+2 for each aura attached to it, and when we cast an aura spell, we may draw a card. SRAM Senior Edificer is here so that when we cast auras spells, we're going to draw some cards, because unfortunately in these colors, card draw is not our best thing, so we've got to find ways to get that in. Starfield Mystic makes our enchantment spells cost 1 less to cast, and whenever an enchantment spell we control is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, we put a +1/+1 counter on Starfield Mystic. So if they remove our auras and things that we're putting on their creatures, we're going to end up getting counters on the Starfield Mystic. Transcendent Envoy makes our auras cost 1 less to cast. That's also a flyer, which is not bad. Ardent Intrepid Archaeologist says at the beginning of combat on our turn, we may attach any number of auras and equipments we control to target permanent or player. So this will allow us to move things around and put them wherever we want. Oromancer, when it enters the battlefield, we may return target enchantment card from our graveyard to our hand. So this will help us get something back if it gets blown up. Brina the Demigorgon is going to make it so that when our opponents attack each other, if that opponent has more life than one of our other opponents, that person is going to draw a card, but we're going to put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature we control. Danitha Caspian Paragon makes our auras cost 1 less. Kemball is here to make our opponents slowly lose life when they cast non-creature spells. They're going to lose 2 life and we can gain 2 life. Mesa Enchantress is here to draw some cards whenever we cast an enchantment spell. Starheim Courser is here to make our enchantments and artifacts cost 1 less to cast. Archon of Sun's Grace is here because whenever we cast an enchantment spell or it enters the battlefield under our control, we create a 2/2 Pegasus creature token with flying. Ashiok's Reaper is here because whenever an enchantment we control is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, we draw a card. We only have a couple sorceries in the deck, 3 of which are tutors, and then of course we're running Farewell because at some point you might need to deal with things, and we may not have very many things on the battlefield of our own. So this is a good way to make everybody have to rebuild and reset the playing field. Instance, we have of course what you would expect: tutors, removal, as well as protection from things like Flawless Maneuver, which is going to give our creatures indestructible till end of turn. We can cast this for free if we control our commander. Artifacts, we just have a bunch of mana rocks, nothing special in terms of artifacts for this deck. But then we get down to enchantments, and we have quite a few because we want our enchantments to be able to be put on our opponent's creatures so they can't attack us, and then we're going to slowly drain them for life. So we have Dead Weight, which enchants a creature and gives that creature -2/-2. Detention Vortex makes it so that the enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. And then pay 3, destroy it. Only your opponents may activate this ability as a sorcery, so they can get rid of the Detention Vortex if they would like. Ethereum Armor, enchanting the creature. That creature is going to get +1/+1 for each enchantment we control, and it has first strike, so this is really for one of our own creatures. Hyena Umbra is some protection for us because it's going to give that creature that we enchant +1/+1 first strike and totem armor, which means if that creature would be destroyed, instead we're going to remove the Hyena Umbra from it and that creature stays alive. Kaya's Ghost Form is also another protection piece because whenever the enchanted permanent dies or is put into exile, it's going to come back to the battlefield under our control. Land tax is here to help us ramp because we're in colors that struggle to ramp a little bit. So whenever a opponent happens to have more lands than us, we can then search our library for up to 3 basic land cards, and we don't put them in our hand and shuffle, just to help us try to keep pace. Sigarda's Aid allows us to cast auras and equipment as though they had flash, and then when an equipment enters the battlefield under our control, we may attach it to target creature we control. So we can cast them at flash speed. If we're casting ones for our own things, we can cast them on end step and attach it to one of our creatures. All That Glitters makes an enchanted creature get +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment. Darksteel Mutation is going to make something lose its base power and toughness to 0/1. It's going to give it indestructible, and it's going to lose all other abilities, card types, and creature types. Deadman's Chest is going to enchant a creature that an opponent controls, and when the enchanted creature dies, we exile cards equal to its power from the top of the owner's library, and then we can cast spells from among those as long as they remain exiled, and we may spend mana as though it's many types. So when that creature dies, we're going to go get some stuff from their deck and be able to play it. Debilitating Injury makes an enchanted creature get -2/-2. Feebleness has flash, which is nice, and gives an enchanted creature -2/-1. Morgul's Knife Wound is going to give the enchanted creature -3/-0, and it has at the beginning of your upkeep, exile this creature unless you pay 2 life. So if they really want to keep their creature out, they're going to pay 2 life. If not, it's going to be exiled. Pacifism is going to enchant a creature and make it so that it can't attack or block. Phyresis is going to give an enchanted creature infect, hopefully one of our own, so that gives us another way to kill people. Reprobation is going to make it so that the enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a coward creature with the base power and toughness 0/1. Wither Crown is going to enchant a creature, and it has a base power of 0, and then at the beginning of their upkeep, you are going to lose a life unless they sacrifice this creature. Gift of Immortality is going to enchant a creature, and when it dies, return that creature to the battlefield under its owner's control, and then Gift of Immortality is going to be attached to that creature at the beginning of the next end step. Pillory of the Sleepless is going to make it so that an enchanted creature can't attack or block, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose life. So we're going to slowly drain our opponents. Quag Sickness is going to give an enchanted creature -1/-1 for each swamp we control. Sarah's Boon is going to give an enchanted creature +1/+2 as long as it's white, or otherwise it's going to be -2/-1. So depending on what we want to do, we can enchant one of our own creatures to buff it up, or if it's something of our opponents and it's not white, we can enchant that to debuff it some. So it's very versatile depending on what we need. Stab Wound gives an enchanted creature -2/-2, and at the beginning of the upkeep, that enchanted creature's controller is going to lose 2 life. Unquestioned Authority, when it enters the battlefield, we're going to draw a card, and then the enchanted creature has protection from creatures. Holy Mantle gives the enchanted creature +2/+2 and protection from creatures. Smothering Tithe is just here so we can make some manas. Failed Conversion gives the enchanted creature -4/-4, and when it dies, we surveil 2. Sphere of Safety is here for some protection for us because creatures can't attack us or planeswalkers we control unless their controller pays X, where X is the number of enchantments we control for each creature. And Celestial Mantle gives the enchanted creature +3/+3, and when the enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, double its controller's life total. Nothing too crazy on our lands. We have things like Bojuka Bog, which you would expect, Castle Lochthwain. One really nice land is Hall of Heliod's Generosity. We can pay a white and a generic to put an enchantment card from our graveyard on top of our library so we can try to get things back. If you have any experience playing Eriette of the Charmed Apple, or you have any other suggestions for cards that we may have missed, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your testimonials and your experiences with this deck, and we appreciate any feedback you may have.